I'm Joe Alfieri, and I'm running for state representative for seat 4A, which essentially is Coeur d'Alene. And I am kind of a political newbie, although I will tell you I ran for mayor last year. And came
Of Coeur d'Alene?
Mayor of Coeur d'Alene, and I came fairly close. For a first-time candidate, we did very well. Jim Mattis is a decent guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's just wrong on too many issues. Democrats have gone crazy. I mean, there's no other way to say it, but they're so extreme in their positions that they're no longer, you can no longer sit down and have a conversation with them. I mean, they are talking about the destruction of the United States, nothing less than that. So, anyway, the time for being a decent guy has passed. I think it's really interesting that the legislature was called back into session to address the vaccination and COVID and other mandates, and all they did was to censure Priscilla Giddings for reposting information that was previously available in the public sphere. It's just, it was a political move by her opponent, Scott Bedke. I mean, there was no question about that. They did nothing that week but censure her. They spent a week doing nothing. Yeah, totally wrong, totally wrong. Masking. It was in the news early this morning that Fauci has emerged. He's no longer in the milk carton. I guess he's out in public again, and he's recommending masking because we have another surge coming on in this so-called virus, and I'm wondering what's going to happen in the state and with the governor and his massive overreach last year. In the last 2 years, I think government sat on the side for it and did nothing. The legislature, I should say, sat on the side and did nothing about when they had the power to act to prevent that from happening. That bothers me as well. First of all, the legislature is a year and a half late in doing anything on that. Frankly, if I were sitting at that time when Little went through these measures, I probably would have had a discussion with the governor's office on, we're going to look at this for 30, 60 days. We're in uncharted territory because at the time it happened, I'm going to give him a little bit of grace period on this. At the time he did what he did, there was a lot of uncertainty about what this virus was. See my quote marks? Mm-hmm. And what was actually going to happen. And even President Trump did some things that I think in retrospect he might not have done otherwise. And I think that I probably would have given him some grace period on that. However, after that grace period, I think it would have been time for the legislature to step up and say, this needs to end now because you have overstepped your constitutional authority. We have several problems in the state that need to be taken care of regarding the election. So first of all, we have ballot harvesting going on here, and it is legal. It is perfectly legal for people to collect ballots in a nursing home and bring them in. Nothing that prevents that from happening. You can bring in 50 ballots and you won't be questioned. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. That needs to be taken care of.
Okay.
Affidavit voting, same day affidavit voting is a real problem. So that's got to go away. That's another thing. There are also some technicalities, and I experienced this in the mayoral election last year. You have a certain period of time in which you can contest the election, but that period of time also coincides when the ballots are locked up and can't be viewed because they've been canvassed. So you can't look at the evidence that you need to look at to determine whether you want to contest the election. So that's another problem. And actually Priscilla Giddings has submitted a bill on that in the last session of the legislature, this past session. I don't know the status of that bill. I'm against it, and the reason I'm against it is that I see it going out of control. There are many things that in the Constitution, the way it's configured now, that I think need to be changed. First of all, the 17th Amendment. The 16th Amendment is another problem. But I'm afraid it would be taken over by the kinds of people that specialize in doing things that we're fighting against right now and would just destroy the Constitution. So I'm against it. Let me tell you my abortion story. I found out in 1995 that I have a brother and a sister. So I was well past, well past majority. I was middle-aged, and I found out through a phone call one evening that I have a brother and a sister. As Catholic, my mother would not have an abortion. As a Roman Catholic, she would not have an abortion, so she put my brother and sister up for adoption. They actually were adopted by the same family, so they grew up together. It's a wonderful story. Debbie and Danny. And I was given a family because my mother did the right thing. I have nieces and nephews and great nieces and nephews, and so I am completely opposed to abortion, and because it's taking a life, and you can't take a life. That's not what's, God doesn't allow that. We have created a situation in America where we have told women and children, because many of them are, that they were just removing a cell from their body, that it's nothing. And given that they don't have the understanding, many of them do not have the understanding that they're taking a life, I can't see prosecuting those people.
What about the doctors?
I think doctors should have some penalty, yes, I do. What has Idaho done exactly like?
Yeah.
Well, it's easy to start a business in Idaho. Regulations on businesses are fairly low, I think, very good. I think they've done a good job on cutting out a lot of regulations. I think some of the red tape cutback has been pretty good. I do believe that. I can think of more things that are wrong than right.
Then tell me, what have they done absolutely wrong?
Taxes out of control. Taxing and spending is out of control. There is no reason why we should have a $2 billion surplus and not return it to the taxpayers. It's completely wrong. And it should be returned, it can be returned, I should say, can be returned in several different areas. The first one was the grocery tax. We've already talked about that. The grocery tax has to go away. We should be lowering income tax. You know, Iowa's just passed the flat income tax. Why can't we do that? Now we're close to it, realistically. We are very close to it. It should be lower. We're taxing at 6+%. It's pretty high. We're among the highest in the country on personal income tax. That's wrong.